All right, shalom, shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. We're going to start off this ministry by giving all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushai, Hashem, Hakadash. All right, double honors to the apostles and the elders of the Most High who rule well, and that's taught His word in truth and sincerity. Peace and mercy as well to the hopeful elect that are also pushing His word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth. All right. And we're out here once again in Toronto, Canada, right, among many demons, man. And as we get closer to Jacob's trouble, things are going to get more wicked. People are going to be more wicked. Your circumstances are going to be harder, all right, as an Israelite, whether you're in the truth or you're not in the truth. Whether you know Yahweh Hashem Shai, or whether you don't know Yahweh Hashem Shai. Your circumstances are going to get more difficult than they already are. And if they're not difficult, guess what? The rug is going to be pulled under your feet, right from under your feet.
Okay, so what brother was simply just going into, this is Matthew chapter 24. Verse 8, and I really want to start at 12, but I'm going to start at 8 because it's all good. This is the words of Yahushai. It says, all these are the beginnings of sorrows, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Right?
Yep. So there's going to come a time where we're going to be the main target of Esau Edom. And it's going to be, well, we already are the main target, but we're going to be out on the run. That's how serious it's going to get. And it already happened during 67 to 70 AD, during the destruction of the besiege of Jerusalem. Right? You had kids eating their parents, stealing from their parents, and parents eating kids. Right?
And I just want to get into the word here, and it says afflicted, and it's in the Greek, it's philipsis, and it says oppressing, pressure, together, pressure. Metaphor, oppression, affliction, tribulation, distress, things. So you're going to be pressured in these last days, and that comes down to you taking the MOTB, the chip, right? And there's been a lot of videos that we've been servicing over the last few weeks, especially this week, with that Moabite woman. I don't know if brothers saw that in the chat.
That was in Australia, right?
Yeah, that was in Australia, correct, brother. And she was saying that it was all for her convenience and it was a good thing. But wait till it becomes mandatory when you're really pressured to go along with it. You know, I'm talking about people who are in the know who are going to go against it. You know, so if you go against it, you're actually going to be put under pressure by your life being threatened. Right, so that's and it says here, verse 10. Verse 10, and then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another.
Yeah, and that's gonna have that. We already got a small taste of that during the juk, the season of the juk. Where if you weren't, juked up, even though you have family members that would reject you, you can't come to this social gathering because you're not darted. It's going to be the same thing leading into Jacob's trouble. And it's going to be even more extreme than it was prior to than it was. Okay.
It says the word betray, to give over into power or use. To deliver one something to keep use, to take care of, manage, to deliver up one to custody,
right.
To be judged, condemned, punished, scourged, tormented, to be put to death.
Right. Hey, somebody get me the precept that Paul's talking about. He that striveth spiritually does not war or entangle himself with the affairs of this life. Right? Because this is why as servants of Yahweh Hashem Shai, men or women, we can't have any attachments to this life, man. You can't hide even to your family and even to your kids. You don't know who's going to give you up. Yahushua said they of his own household are his enemies. And he actually went and prophesied in his hometown and they rejected him. Right? Where in his hometown, and he said, I can't prophesy here. There is no faith here.
And I just want to, because Yahushua, he emphasized the word betray here. He was actually betrayed himself by Judas Iscariot, right? When you go back into that, and it was for what, 30 pieces of silver? So, you're going to go through the exact same things that the Lord. Be prepared for your family members to turn against you, your loved ones, your children, your grandmother. She might have cooked some nice rice and peas, some nice oxtail, might have cooked you some porridge, tuck you in. She's going to betray you, right? So you got to be careful, right? So you have the precept?
Yeah. 2 Timothy 2 and 4. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life. Yeah, because you know what? We're all at spiritual war. You're at spiritual war with yourselves, first and foremost, in the flesh. Even among the brotherhood. And then absolutely again within the society, within your household, with your woman, with whoever. All of it, we're at a spiritual warfare. So everything has to be looked at from a spiritual perspective first. So that's where it starts.
Hey, reply. Could you get Ephesians 6 and 10 for that? Because that's a good point. Because the brother just mentioned spiritual warfare. You're under attack all the time, right? So how do you fight that? By putting on this truth, which is the whole armor, which that's what it goes into. Well, I don't know if the brother's finished that.
Yep. That he may please him. Salakia, let me start again. No man entangled himself with the affairs of this life. That he may please him who has chosen him to be a soldier. Right, to be a soldier. So we're at war, and we're not to get entangled with the affairs of this life, man. You were born for one thing and one thing only, was to know Yahweh Shem Shai and to serve Yahweh Shem Shai. That's it. That's our main purpose. Everything else comes back door to that. Go ahead.
Ephesians 6 verse 10, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of the Most High Yahweh.
Real quick, because it just says be strong in the Lord. That's easier said than done. The way you become strong in the Lord, it takes practice. That just doesn't happen overnight. You actually have to work on strengthening yourself, Lord, and he has to try you first. Right, so that comes through going through trials, tribulations, losing things, prayer, fasting, committing, supplication, right. Denying your flesh, denying yourself, because that's what this truth is about. How do you get strong in the Lord? You got to really deny yourself and abstain from sin.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Beautiful point, man. Because that was Yahushua's walk from the moment he was born, but really from the moment he was 12 and started his ministry on forward. Right? He was all about sacrifice. And sacrifice is in tandem with mercy. You see, this is not about us. No matter what you're going through, it's not about you. It's not about us. It's about the word of Yahweh Shem Shai.
It's pretty much physically to get stronger. You have to push, right? Right. In the word, you have to keep studying, do lessons, listen to lessons, listen to other brothers. And that's how you get stronger.
Yeah, but you have to apply them.
Yeah.
Right? You have to apply, because like your brother brought a good point, you're going to lose things. So if you lose things, something's taken away from you, and you haven't been studying, and if you've been studying, you're going to recall what Paul said about knowing how to be abound and how to be abased. And then you apply that mentality in that scenario, therefore you're getting stronger. The Most High pulls you out of that, and guess what gets stronger? Not you physically, but your faith. It's all about our faith. That's the main thing in this ministry. Is that's the key. That's the ignition. Go ahead.
Verse 11, put on the whole armor of the Most High Yahweh, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now it said wiles, right? Wiles goes into trickery. Because there's a lot of traps, there's a lot of tricks out here. So just think of the cartoon the roadrunner with the wily coyote, right? What was he always trying to do? He was trying to catch the roadrunner. So you have to think of yourselves as the roadrunner out here. And Esau is the coyote trying to eat you. So he's coming with all these conventions. But at the end of the day, when you look at the show, roadrunner's never caught, and that represents the elect. We're never going to be caught out here because the scripture says, for we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. Right?
Mimi.
Verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, having all done to stand.
Right. Having all done to stand in the evil day, Jacob's trouble, ultimately the animal TV. Now put on the whole armor of the Most High. And we all know and quote that to be the truth. But what's the word? What's the word?
What do you mean?
What's the word? What is the word? I'm asking you brothers, what is the word?
It's a weapon.
It is a weapon, but deeper.
It's a shield.
It is a shield too, but deeper. See how it's shy.
Go into that if you want to.
Yahushai is the word, right? So when it says put on the whole armor, really you got to put on Yahushai. So you got to be ready. You got to accept to walk in his footsteps, right? And that's why brothers got to read the Gospels. Read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, especially John and Mark and Matthew. And you go over and over and see what Yahushai went through, the sacrifice he made, right? The mercy he gave. He was always giving mercy. That's why he was doing miracles. You have to be prepared to walk in those footsteps. He was sacrificed by, he was denied and betrayed by his own brothers in the truth. So you have to walk in those, you have to be ready to walk in those footsteps.
John chapter 13.
So that's putting on the whole armor. Go ahead.
13 verse 16, red letter. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him.
You know, and that's a beautiful precept that tells us that that should point you to what? Second Sirach 2, you come to serve the Lord, my son, prepare your soul for temptation. Right? Yahushai, read that again. I lost the point. Read it again.
John chapter 13 verse 16. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him.
All right, go on again. I remember my point. So that means nothing, no suffering's too much for you. Right? Because one that's greater than all of us was already set, brought down on earth, went through all the pains that we went through in perfection. When I say perfection, means he didn't go off. We go off while suffering. But he didn't. And we're his servants, and he's our Lord. So guess what? No suffering's too much for you. Don't get in that mentality where whatever you're going through is too much. That's bullshit.
For you, brother.
Go
To
ahead.
add on to that. The John 15. Remember the word that I said unto you. Their servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you.
Right.
If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also.
Right. So we made it down straight. You know, like remember, I went through this before you did, and I succeeded. So it's not too much. No suffering's too much for you, man. This is about the Lord. You got to be happy that we're suffering, even though that's easier said than done. That's a mentality to keep in your mind.
Got a quick precept. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 14. But I'm going to read all the way down until 18, because everything's good here. It says, knowing that he which raised up Lord Yahushai shall raise up also by Yahushai, and shall present us with you. For all things are for your sakes, that the abundant grace might through the thanksgiving of many rebound to the glory of the Most High, for which cause we faint not, but through our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day.
So that's the inward man is your spiritual self. And the core at your spiritual self is Yahweh Shai, which is your faith. And that's renewed day by day is your faith.
It says, verse 17, for our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory.
Right. And that's why it's a light affliction, or it's for a moment, because when you compare what you're going through to what the reward is, there's no real comparison. So it is a moment for eternity and everlasting righteousness. You got to put it in that perspective. Let me finish this, and then Baal's all got one. You can bring yours out.
While we look not at the things which are seen, right, and that should remind you of Hebrews 11. Where faith is substance of things hoped for, it's evidence of things not seen, right? But at the things which are not seen, for the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal.
That's right, and people don't see, listen, your family members, your woman, even brothers, we all don't see each other's sufferings on the inside. We can just relate because we're all in the truth, you know? But the thing that's eternal, which is not seen, is your faith. I don't know how much faith it takes for you to go through what you're going through. We don't know how much faith it takes for me to go through what I'm going through. We don't know. But guess what? That's that personal relationship with Yahweh Shai. You know?
Luke 14:26. If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life, also he cannot be my disciple. And whosoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple.
Yeah, so we get to the point where you have to choose Yahweh Shai over everyone. It's like that. You have to follow wherever he tells you to go. You have to follow. Like you were saying, you might have to, your kids might turn on you, your woman might turn on you, your parents might turn on you, and they might be saying things trying to make you feel emotional about what they're saying, make you feel guilty. It's like, no, Yahweh Shai told me I'm not supposed to do this, so I'm going this way. That's it. It's not easy. Easier said than done. Because you're in the flesh, right? And you had relationships with these people for years. But it doesn't matter. Because what did Yahweh Shai do for you? Compared to what they did for you. It's not, it doesn't add up, right? He did way more.
Right? In every decision, Apostle Gabar was saying this on the way here. He said, for every decision you make, you should be able to justify it through the scriptures. That's a fact. For every decision we make, we should be able to justify it through the scriptures. If you can't justify it through the scriptures, it's not the right decision. Because Yahweh Shai is the scriptures. Yeah. Okay, come on. Go ahead, Maya.
Pretty much going by what you said, that the Most High is not going to give us more than we can take.
Right.
Yeah, so this is 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 13. There has no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But Yahweh is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that he may be able to bear it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how your faith gets built up. Because you go through your temptation, the Most High pulls you out of it. You look back on it like, yo, you know what? And when you go through enough situations like that, you're like, the Lord really does got me. I really don't have to fear.
Just to back up Brother Byron as well. Isaiah 30:21. And thine ear shall hear a word behind thee, saying, this is the way, walk ye in it. When ye turn to the right hand, and when ye turn to the left.
Right. Exactly. Behind you. Going back to the beginning.
Which means that it came from behind because we were obviously going the wrong way. Right?
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, that's why it came from behind. Because we're going the wrong way. And remember, the brother was saying that the word is Yahweh Shai, so that's really what it speaks to. Right? Yahweh Shai is beckoning you to go to the right way. Right? He's the leader. He's the voice that you're hearing.
Quick precept for
Brother Malak here. This is Romans 1:20. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse.
Yeah, that starts with the elect. We are the invisible things that are created, being seen by the things created. That's starting with the elect. And the elect created those things. But the invisible thing ultimately is Yahweh Shai. Right? Because he's here in spirit with us. He said, where two or three are gathered in my name, there I be in the midst. And then also the spiritual wickedness in high places. These people don't see that shit. They don't see that, but the elect do.
Esau knows of those terms because he'll come up with certain terms in science. He'll say things like ultra-terrestrials, right? Those are actual beings that were always here on the earth, but they just vibe at a different frequency. So because of that, we can't see them with our naked eye. So that goes into like angels, that goes into demons, that goes into Sasquatch. Those goes into invisible things that we can't see as well. It's just a term, you know. Just thought I'd throw it out there. Brothers should check it out yourself. You know?
Yeah, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. The eternal power. Hey, you know what? Hey, can somebody answer me why there's no excuse? Because the answer is in the precept. The answer is in the precept. And the word is there. It's the eternal power. And we're examples of that. Brother mentioned it. And Yahweh Shai is top. So the teaching lesson is, hey, the answer is in the precept, but you need that eternal power so that you can understand it. And that's why we have an order of things, right? It starts with the Father and it goes to the Son, and then you have the apostles, okay, and then elders on down, right? But the eternal. So I'm just simply trying to say for the young folks, young men out there, right? All the answers are in precept, but it's not just that simple. You got to ask the eternal power for it and understand the order of things. Okay? All right.
I got John 1:1. Because brothers is going into the word, which is Yahweh Shai. This breaks it down. This is John chapter 1, verse 1. And a funny thing, it says, the subtitle in the blue letter says the deity of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. So it's referring to Yahweh Shai, our Lord and Savior, as a deity. Right. So deities have to be worshipped when you go into that. So that cuts IUIC, that cuts all these other guys saying that Yahweh Shai shouldn't be worshipped. Right. So it says in the beginning.
Yeah, but they like to be worshipped.
Of course.
But in your program, you like to be worshipped.
Of course.
Hey, you know who you are. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Elder, but that's true because you just saw Nate come out with the picture of him sitting on the horse. Right. What is that telling you? He's in his rulership. You're not supposed to be really be sitting on a horse because you're in captivity under another man's system.
Not only that, brother, they use terms like Christ and God, but they all have Hebrew names.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to read it verbatim, and then the brother will just translate it. So this is John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with the Most High. I mean, with the power, sorry, with God. See, I can't even do it right because I'm so used to saying it the right way. You know what I mean? But it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Right. So the Word being Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is with the Most High. You know, and it tells you, I think, Wisdom of Solomon, I forgot what chapter, but it says that Yahweh Shai talked with Solomon as having the spirit of Yahweh Shai, being Yahweh Shai, talks about how he was his Lord, he was the Father's daily delight. He was at his side, you know, because wisdom comes from the Heavenly Father, but everything has been given to Yahweh Shai. The Lord loves wisdom. So yeah, that's talking about Yahweh Shai. John is giving an account of Yahweh Shai from the heavens on earth, where Matthew, Mark, Luke are giving an account of Yahweh Shai down here going back up. When you read the Gospels,
I'll just read it with the plugins.
Right.
So this is John 1:1 again. It says, in the beginning was Yahweh Shai, and Yahweh Shai was with the Most High.
Right.
And Yahweh Shai was a power.
Right.
So that's how you say it. So it's letting you know he was with Yahweh in the beginning, and with the angels, and then also it's telling you that he is a God, a power, right? The same was in the beginning with the Most High. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made.
You see? So right there, you Christians, just what verse is that? 2?
Yeah.
So the first 2 verses, with Christians would need to spend a year understanding that of John, because that's deep for them. We that are in the know, we know. Yeah, nothing could have been made without Yahushua, right? Being the Lord's begotten Son. And the Lord said, Yahushua said, all power has been given to me. So if all power has been given to him, how is it that he can make everything?
I'm going to jump down to the 14th verse now. So it says, subtitle says, the Word made flesh. Verse 14, and the Word, Yahushua, was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bare witness of him and cried, saying, this was he of whom I spake. He that cometh after me is preferred before me, for he was before me.
He was before.
Proverbs 8:30. Then I was by him as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him.
So that's the precept I was quoting. I said it was in Solomon, but it's in Proverbs. So that's Yahushua. It's a song really of Yahushua. I think David wrote that song, or was it Solomon?
Proverbs, Solomon. That's why I said to you that you're not wrong. You weren't wrong.
Really
right.
It's him in the spirit.
Right. Yeah. Anybody got anything else? If not, let's go into Hebrews 3rd chapter. Yeah, you can get that. You guys can get that. Yeah, I already read.
From the top?
Yeah.
Okay, start from the top. Hebrews 3:1. Wherefore, holy brethren, partakers of the heavenly calling, consider the apostle and high priest of our profession, Hamashiach Yahushua, who was faithful to him that appointed him, as also Moses was faithful in all his house.
Right. So this ministry, doing this work, because we know that a lot of men, what the scriptures say, knowledge puffing it up. So a lot of men, like this truth man is dangerous. It's nothing to play with, because you get all this knowledge and understanding, and you become puffed up, and you forget about basic principles. Like Yahushua said, the weightier matters of the law. Faith, fear, and mercy. Those are very important, man. Doesn't matter how much precept you can recite, how much breakdowns you understand. If you don't have these 3 things, and many others that I'm probably forgetting, but these 3 things, it doesn't. All your teaching and all your work, it builds to nothing. Because Yahushua exemplified faith, 1,000%. He exemplified mercy, and he exemplified what else did I say? Okay, so it's and kindness. Yeah, loving kindness. That's right.
I like fear, though, brother. Let me say that, because fear is the equivalent to humility, right? And I was saying that humility is the first sign of intelligence.
Yeah,
right? That's a humble man. Right? He's a smart man. It's a humble man.
Because when you go into his accounts, man, like this man, like we have our everyday lives where people rely on us, and we gotta get annoyed. Like I got other things to do. I wish they would stop bothering me. Right? Yahushua, now that's just us. Imagine if you were doing miracles, how much people would be bothering you. Imagine if you were healing people that were blind, people that were deaf, people that can't walk and make them walk again. Everybody would be bothering you. You would have no time for yourself. At that point, for sure, it's not about you. So Yahushua was going through that, where he would try to get away from the crowd, go on a boat, run in the mountain, but they would follow them. And he said, I have compassion on these people because they've been following me for 3 days without food. So we have to exemplify the same mentality in our everyday life.
Which also proved that he suffered in the flesh as well, because that's all the flesh talking, because you get worn out. Just like when Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, he actually counseled him and said that, you can't be the judge of all these people all at once. So you got to set up certain guys that are under you, judges, that lesser judges, and they will judge the people on the lesser matters. But when it comes to the major matters, you will judge. Right. Because one, you're going to wear yourself out, and then you're going to wear the people out.
That was the advice that Moses got from his father-in-law.
Yeah, Jethro. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Yahushua used the same thing because he brought up the point about his ministry. You have to understand the different levels of his ministry, right? From a child, going into 12. Yeah, going to 12 years old, which is really a man, right? So you have that area of the ministry. But the best thing is to go into those gospels to understand it and understand more fully. But I just want to say it this way: there's three parts. There's three parts, but it turned out to be 4 parts. What does that mean? All right, I'll say it this way, real quick. So you have you have the altar of sacrifice. That's one aspect of it, right, where he was offered. So what happened before that, right? That was when he was getting in the spirit, the ministry ready as a young man. And then when the altar of just before the altar of sacrifice came, he already had the disciples. You know what I'm saying? So and then after he got the disciples, then he went into the other aspect of the ministry, which was the 3 days and 3 nights. You can look at it. I'm just parting it. I'm just parting it. But it's all played out, and he got those examples from the scriptures. Because he knew who he was. He knew who he was. Right? But anyway, that's the point.
It's a great example of it. Okay. Hebrews 3:3. For this man was counted worthy of more glory than Moses, inasmuch as he who hath builded the house hath more honor than the house. For every house.
That's exactly kind of what you were just saying.
Yeah.
Right? Yahushua. Read that point again. That verse again.
Wow. For this man was counted worthy of more than Moses, inasmuch as he who hath builded the house hath more honor than the house.
Right, because salvation is through Yahushua. He's the chief cornerstone of that house. Right, which is the house of David. So yeah, absolutely, man. So hey, a lot of these Israelite camps that we know, they say that Yahushua is not to be worshipped. You have to explain this precepts then. Because it says clearly that he's greater than the house that he built.
Greater than the house he built.
That he built. Wow.
Right?
That's right. And we have those prophecies. Isaiah, I think it's Isaiah 11 and 11, Isaiah 9 and 6 tells you who he is, the wonderful counselor, right? He's coming back in the spirit, right? And this time was going to be perfect, right? Because he's that example. He's that example that we should follow, right? That's right. Perfect sacrifice, right? And that was passed to the apostles. Okay. Hey, but you guys, you just want to be worshipped. All you ecumenical leaders in Israel, you just want to be worshipped. Hey, go ahead, brother. Bring out the precept.
Yeah, this thing's not about worshiping yourself.
We got a quick precept here. This is Ephesians chapter 2, verse 19, and it says, "Now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints, and of the household of the Most High." Right? It's talking about the elect. Verse 20, "And are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Hamashiach Yahushua himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fit framely together groweth unto an holy temple in the Lord, in whom ye also are builded together for an habitation of the Most High through the Spirit."
Beautiful, holy temple unto the Lord, man. We should be excited, right? Because he's a reflection of the temple of what I was going into symbolically, and now we're that temple, right? That's working with the temple, right? That he has set up, the house that he's built, right? The eternal thing, if I could. You know what I'm talking about. We're the eternal thing that he has set up from the eternal.
The elect are from the foundation of the earth. That's why he's saying that. The elect are from the foundation of the earth, so therefore the eternal branch with Yahushua. You have something? Yeah, go on.
6, verse 12. And speak unto him, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord Yahweh of hosts, saying, Behold, the man whose name is the branch, and he shall grow up out of his place, and he shall build a temple of the Lord Yahweh.
Oh, beautiful. That's what I was shot. Now not Paul, Solomon did that too. Right? But he did it in a physical sense. Yahushua did it in a spiritual sense. Right? And he did it of men. So we know the third temple is going to be is of the elect. Okay, the third temple is going to be of the elect. So you got Israelites that believe we're still going to have a temple, a building that we're going to go and have sacrifices in it. The sacrifice is being made now. Alright, through your timeline, and however long you were brought into His truth until you're saved, if we're of the elect. That whole timeline is your sacrifice. Even going into your past life. All that is accounted as a sacrifice as well. You know, so that's being done now. You got some?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 4.
Okay.
All right.
Read it.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Thessalonians 2 and verse 4. So it says, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God. Go again?
Yeah, read it again. Slack it. Sorry, brother.
Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So we are speaking about the temple that Yahushua did. You know, this temple right here that's talking about Esau sitting in the temple of God, acting like he is God. Can you break that down for me?
So basically, these Edomites are calling themselves the Israelites. That's one aspect. Yeah. And the temple
is us.
The temple is all Israel, but the temple that's being built right now is of the elect. So they're saying they're the chosen.
Okay.
Right? It starts with that. And then when you go into
Get carnal with it.
right.
But you go ahead.
The facing of all the Most High, the angels, because the Edomites put their pigment on the Most High and the angels.
Blasphemy of the Spirit, of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. I mean, they put their color, not pigment. I didn't have the pigment.
Sorry, you know what I meant. Yeah, their color. You're right. Their lack of color, really.
Yeah.
Their lack of color. They put that on the Most High. So they're now they're the ones pushing out all these decrees across the whole earth. So they in their mind they believe that they are the Most High because the Most High gave them that power.
Okay. Go on.
Cut.
This is Revelation 20 and 7. It says here, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations, which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea.
Right, that's exactly what I was going into. Because you brothers know what that 1,000 years goes into? You guys don't answer. Ariel, do you know? No? Do you know, Maya? Can you read the precept again? Sure.
This is Revelation 20 and 7. It says, Satan freed, doomed. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison.
Right.
I think it's talking about the Dark Ages when we ruled Europe.
Right. That's right. Going into what?
And then the Renaissance era.
Right. A little bit, not exactly 1500, but like 1300. And then they came into boom in the 1500s. But yeah, exactly.
And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth.
That's right. And that's what they've done. That's why we have this.
Oh wow, that's crazy because that's the truth. What the scripture just read, because they came, as soon as they came out, they started facing the pictures and stuff like that,
right.
changing everything, which is
Iconoclast.
yeah.
Yep. And then guess who? And then who got sent over here around that time too?
Jake.
No.
Oh.
Who got sent here around that time?
Christopher.
Right.
Colon.
Cristobal Colon.
Yeah.
Cristobal Colon, right? 1492.
Yeah. Wow, that's
Yeah.
This is Job 9:24. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, who covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?
That's right.
So going back to your point when you went into 2 Thessalonians, right? When you're reading that, back then, people didn't know who the Edomites were. They didn't realize that the Romans were the actual Edomites. They were the sons of perdition. So now we know who he is when we come into the time of living among Esau and how things are being fulfilled and what he's doing, right? And how it fits prophecy. So we know who the wicked is now because he's destroying the earth. What did he do? Look at his MO, right?
The mystery of iniquity does already work.
That's the
Yeah.
spirit. Let's get that. 1 Thessalonians 5, I think. Because that's a good point. What you said, like back then, they didn't know that the Romans were Edomites. It's just a son of perdition. But now, that mystery. That's why Paul wrote it like that. Because it was a mystery. But now it's being revealed. We know we're at the end of this man's kingdom. Because the prophecies say that he will be revealed at the end of his kingdom. The truth will be coming out.
Okay, 2 Thessalonians 2 and 5. Remember ye
you're
not
reading, right?
that when I was yet with you, I told you these things. And now ye know that beholdeth that he might be revealed in his time. The mystery of iniquity doth already work. And he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way.
Right, so that's the Most High. The Most High let him come out of the caves, right? Out of the dens, out of the jail cells of the ruling class, which is the Israelites in that time. And how did they do that? Really, they fought in a lot of their wars, in their armies. The quickest way to come up into being an emperor was to start off within the army, in the military, become a general. So I always have squabbles between the church and the emperor, or the emperor and the general, the Roman general. The emperor was usually a Roman general.
What movie is that? The brothers explain. Yeah, Gladiator.
Yeah. So the Most High let him, come out, have power, deceive the whole world, establish, and then come over here on this side of the world, and establish even more of his kingdom. The mecca of his kingdom is America.
This was prophesied because we were supposed to fall. We were supposed to go down because we weren't supposed to be living in glory or we were supposed to be go through our punishment.
Yeah.
And in order for us to go through our punishment, our beating stick, our whipping stick, the sword,
Has to be raised up.
has to be risen up so that it can take us down so we can go through our punishment.
Funny enough, you don't beat down here, you beat from up here,
Yeah.
right? Yep. Is there more now?
Yeah, and verse 8, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth,
Right.
and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming.
So it's being revealed and being consumed by what? The fire of his mouth?
The spirit of his mouth.
The spirit of his mouth.
Which is the prophets, the elect, right now. And then, once our time is up, Yahweh rises up of the elect, guess who's coming? Yahweh Shai.
Says verse 13.
That's right. Coming with the glory. He says he's going to come in the glory of his Father, which is the chariots, so-called UFOs. And they're going to come to destroy, completely wipe out America, put some damage on other parts of the earth, Israel today, because you got the wicked inhabiting that land. And then it'll also come to save the elect from what? Nuclear missiles. As those missiles are dropping, the chariots are going to come right in. Men and women are going to get beamed up.
Verse 9, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders.
All powers and signs and lying wonders. His whole society is based upon symbolism. The scriptures are based upon symbolism. Where you go into the TV, the music, right down to the make of a car, clothing, everything. So you can find Esau in his society. You don't have to look far. You can look at your food and there's Esau.
Hey, this grass that we're standing on is full of chemicals.
Yeah, the air.
You got dead bodies.
Well,
And
it's-
dead bodies, yeah.
Well, hey, which he's responsible for in terms of his dirty hands. Yeah.
Well, are we at?
All over there too.
Yeah,
Are we at
I was going
Christie
to say that
Pits?
you mentioned that too.
Right?
Christie Pits was like a cemetery.
Yeah.
Right, but what does Christie mean? follower of Christ. That's what it means.
Right, Christos.
Right? So think about that on a spiritual level.
Yeah, and this guy, he would, it's in code. I'm glad you bring it out because it's like a mock now when he interprets it, Esau.
Yeah.
It's like a mock.
Thank you. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Or we call it the pits. All the wickedness that goes on over that place. Right down in there. Oh, yeah. You got it?
Yes, he has more.
Oh, there's more?
Okay, finish it? Yeah, finish it. Okay, verse 10, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved.
Right. So that's 2/3 of Israel. They didn't receive the love of the truth, which is what? Mercy. Yahushua is the love of the truth. You didn't receive Yahushua. Okay, go ahead.
And for this cause Yahweh shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie.
So they're going to take the MOTB. They're going to go through Jacob's trouble, suffer, die, and then they're going to come out and take the MOTB. Go ahead.
That they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness.
Yeah. You have pleasure in unrighteousness, man. All wickedness of all sorts and kinds.
Verse 13, but we are bound to give thanks always to Yahweh for you, brethren beloved of the Lord, because Yahweh hath from the beginning chosen you to salvation through sanctification of the Spirit and belief of the truth.
Yeah, so the elect are eternal, just like the other was saying earlier, because they've been chosen from the foundation, and they've been sanctified already.
Israel is eternal.
Yeah, you could say that. It starts with the elect, though. But the thing is, the rest of Israel is going to come back through the elect. So yeah, start with the elect.
The last one. Whereunto he called you by our gospel to the obtaining of the glory of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach.
Sure. We're here to obtain the same glory that Yahushua obtained. When he was on the earth and he was going through the ministry, his ministry. Now we have his ministry and we want to obtain the same glory because Romans 8, there's nothing wrong with saying that. Romans 8:16 says that. Is that we're going to suffer with him, then we shall obtain glory with him. Yahweh Rakazah.
Yeah, we followed him by faith in the temple, right? And we know what happens. He opened it up. Father told him to open it up, open up the veil.
I get that.
Right? So that's where the elect is.
He has one.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Daniel 8 and 25. This is going into Antiochus Epiphanes. We go into the chapter. And Esau Edom, he's coming in the same spirit. So it says, and through his policy, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart.
Now who's that talking about? Esau? That precept?
Go ahead.
Read it again.
So this is Daniel 8 and 25. And through his policy, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand.
So I should ask, what time period is that talking about? I should ask like that. What time period is that precept talking about?
Right.
Don't know? No guesses? What? Daniel 8:25. It's talking about Antiochus.
Oh yeah. Brother said it too.
Yeah, that's why I asked you guys to see if you would click on. But he said it. This is talking about Antiochus Epiphanes, but Esau is coming in the same spirit. That time period was talking about the Greeks, right? Maccabean era, right? Because Daniel was getting the prophecy of 4 kingdoms to come before him. And he was already in the Babylonian kingdom.
So it's the time of the Maccabees.
Yeah.
He's prophesying to that
I was
time.
going to say that, but I was like, must be wrong.
You should have trusted
Yeah,
spirit.
yeah.
If you want to get technical, it's Antiochus Epiphanes IV. That's who is ruling right now and he's giving out the policy.
Yeah.
He was like the coolest guy, one of the coolest.
Yeah.
So Daniel 8 and 25.
It's like an Epiphanes among his men meant madmen. It's crazy.
And through his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. And that's what you're seeing, right? Through the policies, the laws, the legislations. Because in order for the MOTB to become a law, it has to be a bill first, right? That's how laws are created. So when you look at the legislature, when you look at the cabinet, when you look at the Senate, when you look at the House of Commons, Parliament, and how it's made up, that's how they pass bills, right? Or they turn bills into laws. Right. They debate, they talk about it, they say if it's good or if it's bad. So they're really telling you that a bad thing is good for you because it's going to go to a majority vote, right? They're going to cause you. The majority believes that this is the right thing to do, even though it's a wicked thing to do, right? So that's how policies and laws are made. You know, it's through you voting and through these guys coming and talking together, doing all that stuff.
Isaiah 10:1, all unrighteous decrees.
Right. To prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. I just have to say, because if you look at how everything is, like how laws are created, you go into what? You have the House of Commons, then you have the Senate, then you have the what's it called? The Governor General. So who does the Governor General represent? The King, right? Which is in Britain. So it went through all these 3 stages, but they couldn't get it right. They couldn't get it right. They're still telling you that this MOTB is going to be good for you. So it went through 3 processes. 3 processes. So it just shows you how corrupt this devil system is.
Show you how strong the principalities and the powers are that's ruling.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right. You know? So it just shows you it's the same spirit as Antiochus. Bunch of criminals ruling, right? He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand.
Hey, who are the prince? Who's the prince of princes? So who are the princes?
Yashahala.
No, you always gotta, yeah. 2/3, forget them on this side, man. You gotta start with the elect.
So the reason why I brought that up real quick is, right, you don't see anybody else, right? The apostles and elders starting with them, and we know, we're not going to go into the break off how the Lord set it up, but simply put, right, we don't have any leaders other than them, right? I'm not going to go into stories of how they come to the camps, right? And that no class Malone or whatever you want to call it, that demon, right?
No class Cologne.
He's right there. How many years? 15, whatever, 10 years he's been hanging on, which is part of prophecy, right? So that's what this thing is all about. And if you know what you're involved with, man, right, what the Lord called you, you say that, you know, the Lord called you and chose you. If you really believe, okay, you should be really excited in spirit and in truth, in the spirit of humility, begging for mercy, right? Because those princes are the real Protestants, if I may use that word.
And they have to suffer. They have to suffer.
Exactly.
Because the reward is just that great, man.
Yeah.
They have to suffer.
We're the ones that's protesting the spirit that the Lord set up. Anyway.
I got a quick one to back up on Ahmad and Brother Gafar. 2nd Ezra 16:70. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear Yahweh. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear Yahweh. Right? Because the brother was saying that Antiochus Epiphanes' name means madmen. And so that same spirit is emanating throughout the earth today.
And you read the last part again?
Yeah, go ahead.
For they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear Yahweh.
And you know what? It's crazy, man, because you get a great illustration of what's to come in the future when you read about the Maccabees and what they did. Babies were getting thrown over the cliff because they were circumcised. People were getting burned alive, you know, if they kept the Sabbath. So it's going to be like that in this near future. They're going to be killing, and you know, I don't know if you guys remember, like decades ago, maybe 20 years ago, 10 years ago, they had that system where they classify people under colors. Red dots, yellow dots, and green dots. Green is like, these are the people that are okay. They're like sheeple.
For the FEMA death camps.
FEMA death camp, right. They're like sheeple. The yellow dots are the people who are like, you know, like the Christians. They're gonna fight, but they won't fight too long. And the red dots are the elect. Those that completely say that, you know, that completely stand against Esau's kingdom. So they already know, and they already have everything classified as to who's who and what's what. So it makes complete sense that there's gonna be a great insurrection on they that fear the Lord.
Yeah, remember we were talking about the harvest?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
They wouldn't know what grain that is. But anyway,
Right.
what yeah. No, it matters.
Medium.
No, it matters because that's what we're talking about, but I won't say it. It's not important. Right? But anyway, go ahead, brother. What you got?
You go on or? Yeah, you can go on.
Continue.
Where were we at? We were at
Round up, we're reading Second Thessalonians.
yeah, Hebrews. We're at Hebrews.
Hebrews 3. Yeah, go back there.
Shake.
3 or 4.
Okay.
For every house, Hebrews 3 and 4, for every house is builded by some man, but he that built all things is Yahweh. And Moses verily was faithful in all his house, as a servant for a testimony of those things which were to be spoken after.
Read that again, Slacker.
On. And Moses verily was faithful in all his house, as a servant for a testimony of those things which were to be spoken after.
Right. So Moses was a prophet. He's prophesying about future things. Right? And he did in coming in this new life. We know and we believe that's David. Right? Peter. Go ahead.
But Yahushua is a son over his own house, whose house are we, if we hold fast the confidence and the rejoicing of the hope firm unto the end.
Right. That faith, man. Confidence. That word means with faith. Con and fidel. Father or something like that. It means with faith.
Wherefore, as the Holy Spirit saith today, if ye will hear his voice, harden not your hearts, as in the provocation. In the
Right.
day,
Yeah, because actually finish the precept and start again.
wherefore, as the Holy Spirit saith today, if ye will hear his voice, harden not your hearts, as in the provocation, in the day of temptation in the wilderness.
Right. In the day of temptation as a provocation in the wilderness. Because if these scriptures, man, is a two-edged sword. And a lot of people, you know, Yahushua gave the parable of the sower and the seed. Right? And some fell on the wayside, and he broke that down. Did somebody get that? Because there was one, it said he tossed the seed on the rocks, and it yielded up, and then it, you know, got scorched by the sun. And he broke it down to those that receive this truth. At first, when they hear it, they're glad. But when it comes to the suffering, right? When it comes to, you got it? When it comes to the suffering, they follow the truth, right? Stony ground, yeah.
Okay, you see how, hey, you see that, you see those trees, you see those plants next to the curb?
Right.
That's what it's talking about. I've seen it before where just a tiny little crack and there's concrete everywhere and there's a plant come up and it'll bear fruit. But then after the sun will get to it, or people will come and stomp all over it. I've seen that. I never forget that. Lots of tomatoes. It was where I was working and my boss was joking and he said, man, we're waiting for the tomatoes to come in. Maybe we should pick from there. Yeah, there was so much tomatoes growing on stony ground. So that's what he just explained. Stony ground. It's real.
Right.
Go ahead, brother. I didn't mean to cut you
No, that was
with
a
the other
great example.
examples of
That was a great
parable and
example.
soul.
Matthew 13:3, and he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon stony places where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up,
Right.
because they had no.
Right.
And when the
Because
sun
they were
was
not rooted. They were not rooted in the truth. That's what it means, though, right? So they weren't rooted into what they actually believed in. A lot of people, they hear the Israelites speak, or they hear the prophets speak, and they say, "Oh yeah, I'm down with the cause." They'll throw up a fist, but then they just leave, and then they go continue in their madness. That's a lot of people who aren't rooted. They think it's just a fad or a trend, and really it's a lifestyle.
And when the sun was up, they were scorched. And because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But other fell into good ground.
He's gonna break it down. That's why I'm not really going into it. I like the way he says it. Go ahead.
But other fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, some an 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold.
Okay, now he breaks it down, right?
Yeah. It says, who had ears to hear, let him hear.
Right, so that parable wasn't for everybody to understand. It's only for the elect to understand. Go ahead. Because the elect will go through these things and witness these things. What he's breaking down. Go ahead.
And the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables?
Right.
He answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given.
Yeah, so even the disciples, who later on became apostles, had to be checked on. This truth isn't for everybody. You know, this isn't for all Israel. Even they had to be checked on that. I just find that funny because that's what Christians like to preach. The Lord came for everybody. You even got Israelite camps that would say that Esau can make it. You know, but even the disciples were like, no, they had to be checked on that. And Yahushua was like, this is just for you. It's not for everybody that's there that you're among.
Hey, well, the atonement clearly explains it. The atonement and the feast of the Lord, all the feasts, those 7 feasts. So you don't have to get into it, but it's really simple, as you mentioned. Hey, that's why, you people need to read the Gospels, man. Anyway, we're going to it. Go ahead, brother.
Keep reading, bro.
For whosoever hath to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath.
Right.
Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand.
Right. So they see us prophesying, all right, and then, like, for example, you can read a prophecy about the Lord waking up the elect in the latter days, prophesying, and people can see that and they won't take it in. It'll go right over their head. We're living prophecies. You know? What?
And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, by hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive.
So they are also a living prophecy by not being able to perceive us doing what we're doing. Right?
For the people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them.
Oh, you know, that's a controversial precept, especially for you Christians, because you're under the impression that the Lord loves everybody, but the Lord set it up where He didn't want His own chosen people, a majority of them, to receive this truth, because He said, lest that they hear, receive, and are healed. So guess what? It's not the time for them to be healed. This is not the time for the majority of Israel to be healed. This is a time for the elect to be restored through Yahushua.
But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which you see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which you hear, and have not heard them.
Yeah, because they're all, the prophets all spoke of Yahushua. So, you know, them as them back then, Isaiah as Isaiah didn't see Yahushua. Whether he was there, when Yahushua was there or not, we don't know. You know, but Peter, all the disciples, and the later on called apostles, they saw Yahushua, they were there with him, learned from him. All the prophets back then would have wanted that too. They sighed and cried for it throughout all the many kingdoms.
Okay, verse 18. Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower.
Right.
When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received seed by the wayside.
Right. And we know understanding ultimately goes into what? The fear of the Lord. That's how you get understanding. So there's people who hear this word and then the fear doesn't come upon them. You know, like if you're a new member coming up to the camp and we're talking about tattoos, how it's off, and you're an Israelite, and we're going into how we're talking about tattoos, and and you have tattoos on you, you should feel some fear. If you don't, guess what? Satan's gonna take you. You're gonna walk right away. You know? So they had no understanding. Right?
But he that received the seed into stony places,
Because all of us, I don't know you guys' personal upcoming to the truth, but you felt fear as soon as you heard this word. Something you shook like, oh, this is it. This is it. Right?
but he that received the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy received it.
Right? So the seed that was sowed in the stony places is he that received the word with joy. You look up the word of none?
Yeah. Anon, A-S-O-N.
Yes.
For the step or blue letter?
It says yeah, you choose. So it says straight, level, straightforward, upright, true, sincere. Yeah, forthwith.
Right. Okay. So read that again.
Okay, so but he that received the seed of the stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and straightforward will joy receive it.
Right? Okay.
Yet hath he not rooted in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, by and by he is offended.
Right. Right. He's offended because this truth, this word is a two-edged sword. And when you're put in a situation of temptation and you have to apply the scriptures, you could be offended. Because maybe the situation is that you have to humble yourself. And you know you're in the right.
Yeah.
It could be that. And that could offend you, and then you make the wrong decision, get into your pride, and the Lord judge you.
Yeah.
Or you take the low road, right, and let the How Shai justify you. Because now we apply the scriptures.
For example, we saw what happened to the Virginia camp. You know, they were hanging on for a long time. That elder of that camp, he was in it for like probably about 8, going into probably 10 years. You know, he hung on strong and he was very diligent. But when the doctrine of the flat earth came, him and his whole camp fell out. Right? So that's another example. You may hear something, it might strike a nerve, and then you're like, oh shit, they're not teaching the truth, so now it'll cause you to fall out.
Yeah. You know why they got offended? I don't know. Don't care.
No,
This was their time to fall out.
it came out. It came out in the parable of the sower.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's why brother mentioned about fear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because while he was breaking that down, I was thinking, right? Many a times I've seen it here in the highways. We want to join right now. Yeah, people come up. We want to join this thing right now. No, brother, stay right over there where you are. Listen, right, and just listen to what we have to say. So the point is, real quick, hold the point,
Yeah,
right? Just to verify what's going on with that. Just because there's a prophecy that talks about, it's the prodigal son. It talks about that the two brothers. One said, "Hey, I want." One said, "Now, Lord, be," right? So that's what you described. We can go into that after.
Yeah.
Right, I don't want to talk about it too much.
A real quick point as well, because about being rooted, you have to study to show thyself approved, and that has to have faith. So a lot of men, they don't really study too. That exposed that. They don't study, right? They don't study. They just hear things, and they go along with the flow. That can also cause you to be rooted out, right?
Yeah, because if you study, like, you have to, like, if you study, you don't have faith. You won't apply what you're studying.
But it's clear too because from the embargo to sin, and now the man's in a horse.
Yeah.
And you got all those people following him.
Well, he names it's a worse face situation. He actually chose the truth, but he's caught up in that pride, man. Like, he's getting praise, and it's just, he loves it. It's hard for him to give it up. You know?
The Lord set him up for an example, man. That's what it is. What not to do in this truth, huh? Yeah. Luke, just going to the brother's point about, you know, sometimes some people will say things and you're convicted in your spirit, but you know you're taking the high road or the low road, depending upon how you address it. The example here is in Luke 7 and 33. For John the Baptist came neither eating bread nor drinking wine, and ye say, he hath the devil.
Right.
The Son of Man is come eating and drinking, ye say, behold a gluttonous man, a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners.
Right.
But wisdom is justified of all her children.
Right.
Right?
Right? 'Cause wisdom is what? The fear of the Lord. Humility. That's why they couldn't understand what Yahushua was doing.
Yep.
How you sit with them publicans, man? Aren't you supposed to be the Messiah?
Right?
Aren't you supposed to be bringing righteousness?
Yeah.
Yahushua told them, listen, I came to heal the sick
Yeah.
and restore the poor. I didn't come to save the righteous, which was a facetious saying, because none of them were righteous.
And he said, I'll have mercy before sacrifice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd
yeah,
rather
yeah.
mercy before
Because
sacrifice.
they were all about the law.
Yeah, the law, the law,
He
the
was
law.
come to show you mercy.
Right? Vain oblations instead of having mercy for your fellow man, your brother. You should be happy you have this truth. And you should be looking at your man who doesn't and being like, you know what? I need to be humble in this thing. Because I could have very well never received this and been like him. Right?
Okay, this is Isaiah 1:1. The point will be made in verse 4. It says, rebellion of the Most High's people, the vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Uzzah, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for Yahweh has spoken, I have nourished and brought up children. Sorry. I apologize.
Isaiah 11. Just
Sorry,
on
that
the
was a
point
typo.
on 4, right, because you mentioned it, but I just wanted to rehearse our foundation, our firm foundation of eternal power.
All right.
Go ahead.
So this is Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. And it says here, righteous reign of the branch. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. That's King David's dad, right? Which goes into King David and then comes out Yahushai. That's the root.
Yeah.
Solomon Yahushai. And it says, verse 2, and the spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and of the fear of Yahweh. And shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yahweh, and he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears.
Right.
But the righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove the equity for the meek of the earth, and he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked.
As you're reading, I'm just thinking of humility,
That's it.
right? The spirit of humility, right, encompasses all those, you receive all those gifts, but how we ought to see it is through the spirit of humility. That's how he comes, right? And the prophecy tells you how he would come, on the fold of an ass, right? It didn't come like the way these you people expected to come. Talk shit that he, you know.
A lot of these Israelites like that.
No,
A
go
lot
ahead.
of these Israelites are in the spirit of mirth, man. Right? Now you think we're in a time to be glorified. You think we're in a time to be glorified because you have a grand following of people. Because you got this knowledge. You know, this is not a time to be glorified, man. And the Lord is going to make an example of these camps. We pray and hope we're not one of them in wickedness. Make us an example of righteousness, Yahweh Rakasa. Because it's gonna turn up, man. Just like how the sea bit happened out of nowhere, it's the same thing. It's gonna happen again.
It's in here, reprove with equity for the meek of the earth, and that's what Yahushua did. You know,
There's the word. That's the word, meek.
Yeah, he
Going
was here
into humility.
He was here for the meek, which they were contrite of heart, right? And they were actually sorrowful and sorry for the sins that they have committed. So a majority of Israelites that are out here, 2/3 especially, they're not sorry for the sins they have committed in the sight of the Lord. And that's why Yahushua was hanging around publicans and sinners and the tax collectors, because those people, they felt wrong for what they did, right? They were actually meek. Instead of the other wicked Sadducees and wicked Pharisees, they didn't care because they were caught up with going through the motions of carrying out the law and looking good. So that's why he said, I didn't come here for you guys who are perfect and righteous. I came here for the people who are sick. Right?
Yep.
That's all you want?
Is that verse 4?
That's verse 4.
Yeah, simply put, man. Yeah, I probably ended there with the wicked Sadducees and wicked Pharisees. You understand the difference in a simple term? The Pharisees, the wicked ones, they don't believe in miracles. They don't believe in miracles.
No, it's actually, yeah.
And then the
Yeah,
other
you're right.
dudes, they're legalists.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
law.
The aristocrats.
Yeah, like the law. But they don't follow. But they don't follow the breakdowns. Yeah. But, yeah, but they don't. They reject the breakdowns.
No, I'm asking you, Sam. So was it not Nicodemus that asked Yahushua that, what should I do? Go
Yeah.
up within my mom?
He was a Pharisee.
Yeah,
Right? And the Lord had to give them the proper breakdown. Right?
Well, they're not spiritual. It's funny. Yeah, he thought little.
Newborn baby.
Yeah. Right? But the breakdown is coming. The breakdown is coming out. The breakdown's coming out. You know, they don't want it. Right? Either group. Right? Because the Pharisees, I don't want that miracle. Right? And you read it at the beginning, and you know what Hebrews says. You know, verse, chapter 11. Anyway, brother, continue with your stuff. Yeah, bring it up.
Matthew chapter 23, verse 5, red letter. But all their works they do for to be seen of men.
Yeah.
They make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments and love the uppermost.
Yeah, it's all about the fancy garments.
Idolatry again. It's going into idolatry.
Yep, go ahead.
And love the uppermost rooms at feasts
Yeah.
and the chief seats in the synagogues and greeting.
You can just see them in your mind, you know, when you read it, you can just see them, you know, sitting there, all lofty and nice, you know. Oh, man.
Who's this nigga on the nag?
I just watched that too.
Right?
I literally just watched that like 2 days ago.
Yeah, for sure. It's magic, man. Go ahead. But Yahushua came on a donkey. That's a complete contrast, man. Go ahead.
And greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi.
Lord, Father.
Father.
You know? They love brown noses, man.
They love idolatry.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's what it's going into, and we know, but same thing. All of those things, man. Hey, brown nosing, that is idolatry.
It is.
It's the worst way.
Yeah.
What you got? You have something?
I like this precept.
Bring it up.
When you had the
You
lesson,
done? That's it?
you had the lesson the other night about the Sadducees and the Pharisees.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it, and then what he just read is pretty much
Links.
this right here. It says that this is Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9. It says the things that has been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new, it has been already of old time, which was before. So what these guys are doing now it was done already. So they're just repeating that, and they should just stand back, look at themselves, examine themselves, and see that they're wicked. Like what they're doing is the same thing that the Sadducees and Pharisees did back in the days.
That's the reincarnation precept. And so it goes to speaking or to under the understanding that we are our Father's return. Right?
Yeah.
We are our forefathers'
But
return.
you know
So what you were doing in that life, you're doing now.
Yeah, Yahushua. Like
There's no escape.
and you have to look at the roles everybody's playing. Right? Because once you look at the roles everybody's playing, then you understand the order that the Most High set up. Because these guys, we just read, Yahushua said in the precept he's going to finish off, that to them, he blinded them so that they wouldn't receive. That step back you're talking about, Yahushua stopped them from doing that. Because if they step back, then they would get healed. He doesn't want them to get healed. Why? Because they're playing a role. And they have to play that role to fulfill prophecy.
Make production.
I find it very ironic though because they like to be called rabbi, which rabbi really means master, right? But they haven't mastered anything. When you look at how they're teaching, they haven't mastered anything.
Sorry, they call themselves rabbi?
Yeah,
Those
rabbi.
guys?
They like to be called rabbi.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
It's like really reincarnation. They came right back living in their stead because that's who they are.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, man.
But doesn't the scripture say, sorry, just be shy about that one, but doesn't the scripture say the servant is not greater than the master, which is really Yahushua, because when you look at his track record and what he did, he mastered every single thing, every single facet of life, whether it be physical, spiritual, mentally, right, emotionally, everything. He mastered every single thing. But us, we haven't done that. We can't really walk in his shoes. Didn't John say, I'm not worthy enough to lace his shoe? So what more are these rabbis? What more is Nate? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I have the etymology for rabbi.
Yeah.
So it says a spiritual master, great one, title of respect for doctors, but to be great or numerous, multitude, great, chief, master, teacher.
Yeah, because a lot of them were like doctors of the law. Right? Yahushua said, what they tell you to do, but don't do what they do. Because they were hypocrites.
Yeah, do as I say, not as I do type of
Right.
stuff.
They were hypocrites. And they didn't apply humility and mercy behind everything they taught and everything they did. They didn't apply any of that. And Yahushua applied humility and mercy every single time.
That's why it said a spiritual master first. That was the first definition there.
Right.
Because they weren't spiritual when it came to judging the people.
Right.
They didn't really look at their situation spiritually on why they were doing those certain things. They didn't ask the Lord to give them that eyesight or that insight. I mean that insight about what they were doing.
Right.
They're just like, oh, you're nasty. Done away with it. You don't do that.
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead.
John 4:20. Yahushua talking to a woman in Samaria. So the woman said, "Our father worshipped in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship." Yahushua said unto her, "Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. Ye worship ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father and in the Spirit and in the truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him." Yahushua is the Spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
That's right, man. Straight, man. You gotta apply humility, fear, and mercy. Those are very important characteristics to be applying continually in this word. Because the simple fact is none of us are perfect, so you have no right to condemn another man or woman without the insight of their situation. You still have to apply judgment, right, and exhortation and correction and rebuke, but you don't rebuke somebody without knowing the situation. You got to know the situation, and then you rebuke always with the scriptures. You don't rebuke with your own opinion and the bullshit.
This is Matthew chapter 7. Yeah, I'm going to start at verse 2, and the point will be made in 5. These are the words of Yahushua. It says, and it says judging others. That's the title. So it says, "For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye met, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considereth not the beam that is in thine own eye? Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, Let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, the beam is in thine own eye?" So you got to check yourself before you check others. Because when you point one finger, remember there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. So you have 3 faults, when you may be looking at one fault at one brother.
Right.
So you got to check yourself
Yeah.
when you cast down judgment, because that hammer is very heavy, And you know, you can oppress and hurt a brother, and you also afflict yourself and oppress yourself.
Right. And beautiful precept, it starts with the brotherhood, but we're not around each other every day. So when you go home, you still gotta apply mercy to your kids, apply mercy to your parents, to your woman, your brother, whoever, right? That precept you read, it makes sense that you gotta check yourself. And that's why when you're giving rebuke, you gotta give rebuke with mercy. You have to understand you were there, or still is there.
To speak to the example that both of you brothers brought out, is if you don't conduct yourself well within the unit, you weaken the body.
Yeah.
You're weakening the body. So that's something to always consider. Right?
You got some?
Yeah, I got some.
You got some?
Just in regards to the insight into people's situation, this is Matthew 12, verse, start at 9. And when he departed thence, he went into their synagogue, and behold, there was a man which had his hand withered. Asked him, saying, Is this lawful to heal on Sabbath days? That they may accuse him. But he said unto them, Yahushua speaking, What man shall there be among you that have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will he not lay hold on it and lift it out? How much then is the man better than the sheep? Wherefore is it lawful to do well on the Sabbath days?
That's it. Straight, man. They didn't have that again, mercy. Right? They were thinking about the law. Here you have the ability to put moisture back in a withered hand so that it looks right again, but you won't do it because it's Sabbath. You're wicked, man. You're fucking wicked. The man has the wither, you have the power to give him a new hand, but you won't do it. It's a Sabbath. You can't do it, brother. It's a Sabbath. You know? That's how they thought, man. So, and Yahushua hit them back with a practical example. You're a shepherd and you lose one sheep, and when he goes on, he says that you're even more happy of the sheep that went astray and brought it back than the other sheep that did go astray. That was a deep parable because the publicans and the sinners that he was sitting with represent the sheep that went astray. And it's more pleasing to Heavenly Father for those to come back to the fold, to come back into the truth.
That goes back into the prodigal son too.
Exactly. Yep. There's scriptures that say that the angels, man, they basically get excited, man. They glorify when they see somebody coming into the truth, and actually, when they see the elect wake up, a member of the elect wake up. Yeah, go ahead.
I just have one thing to say too, because if you notice, he also made an example of the shepherd and the sheep, right? So a shepherd is in charge of the sheep. So you have to look at the Lord. He's the ultimate shepherd. So if the Lord were to come back and say, "Oh, I can't save you because it's on the Shabbat," how would you feel? You think that's right? You think that's right? Come on, because the Lord is the Savior, right? He watches over you. So just think of that example of what a shepherd's job is to do.
Exactly.
Right? So it's, people don't think, man.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Luke 15, points in 10, might start at 7. Yahushua speaking, I say unto you, likewise, joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repenteth, moreover than 99 just persons which need no repentance.
Right.
Either what woman hath 10 pieces of silver, if she lose one piece, doth not light a candle, sweep the house, seek diligently until she find it?
Yeah.
And when she had found it, she called her friends and her neighbors together, saying, Rejoice with me, for I have found the piece which I had lost.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful. Where we at? You want to finish the silver?
So Matthew 13 and 22. He also that received seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and becometh unfruitful.
Right. And the deceitfulness of riches, man, that works whether you're poor, lacking money, or where you have a lot of it. Either way can choke you. Either way can deceive you. Right? Either positions or circumstances can deceive you, because Paul said, or I think it was in the Proverbs actually, where if I'm poor, roughly paraphrasing, have mercy on me not to condemn your name when I'm poor. And then when I'm rich, have mercy on me to not forget your name, roughly paraphrasing. I'm kind of butchering how he said it, but you get what that's basically how he came across. So, yeah, you got a lot of men that come into this truth and have lost a lot of things, and the loss of those things hold them out of the truth. Or have gained a lot of things, and the gain of those things have took them out of the truth. You know, money. Oh, okay.
Proverbs 30, verse 8. Remove far from me vanity and lies.
Right.
Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me, lest I be full and deny thee, and say, who is the Lord Yahweh? Or lest I be poor and steal, and take the name of my power in vain.
Right. Yeah, so you gotta, that's the middle ground. You gotta pray for daily bread. Pray for necessities. You know?
Verse 23, but he that receiveth seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which Matthew 13 and 22, he also that receiveth seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful.
Right, it chokes the word. The cares of this world will choke the word. Right, because the word it says that it's supposed to yield fruit.
It says, and he becometh unfruitful. So yes.
Unfruitful, yeah. Okay, unfruitful. This knowledge you have is a living knowledge. You got to water it for you to be fruitful. So what are you watering? Your faith in this knowledge. So if you put your mind towards business and the things of this world, rather than putting your mind in watering your faith, right, strengthening your faith, eventually you're going to choke the word and you're going to be rooted out.
Goes back to one of the first precepts that you brought out about entangling yourself in this world as a soldier.
Yeah.
Right? Yep, same idea applies.
And when you choke, guess what you lose? Oxygen. That's the breath. It's knowledge.
The spirit.
Yeah, just the spirit. Yeah, absolutely. The spirit gets taken off you because you'll make excuses like, oh, I gotta work this shift, so you know you put the cares of this life over what? Studying and doing a lesson. You keep doing it day and day and day, and the Lord's like, you know what, man? Give me that spirit, man. It takes the Holy Spirit because you're choking the word. You're supposed to be fruitful. And you wait, and then that you see that you've seen that. You go off, you're a whole different person now. You're in the world now.
It's like putting this knowledge under a napkin and not teaching it, because you're supposed to teach this word. You know, that's your job. Once you get it, you got to utilize them talents, man. You don't want to be that slothful and unfaithful servant. Right. The Lord's going to come back and rebuke you.
That's right. That's right.
Verse 23, but he that receiveth seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit and bringeth forth some 100-fold, some 60, some 30.
Yeah. So you're growing. Apostle Paul always talks about, he says a key sign of the elect is that they're growing in the truth. A man or a woman that's growing, that's you yielding fruit. You're multiplying on whatever Yahushua gave you, whatever portion he gave you of faith. You're adding to it. So when he comes back, you weren't found asleep, or you weren't found a slothful servant, or you weren't found with the wrong wedding garment. So you always got to multiply on your gifts and your talents, in faith and in fear and in humility.
A good way to know that if you're rude is if you're actually following your teachers, because that's another way. That's another good way, or a good indicator that you're growing right is when you're subject onto your teachers. It's true. The people who are here before you, who actually know things, who are teaching you, right? So you gotta be subject onto them too. That's another way. That's a form of discipleship, right? And that helps you to grow in this truth. And you see the order in the faith, in the rank and file. Because Yahushua deals with the rank and file, he deals with order.
Yeah. Case in point, many times when he went away, he didn't take all 12 with him. When he went up to Peter, he took Peter and John and they saw the transfiguration of Elijah and Moses. He only took Peter and John. He didn't take everybody else with him. Yeah, so Yahushua definitely did deal with and ranking files and all that. There's nothing wrong with ranking files and all that. But it's when you take pride and confidence in your ranking file over who put you there. You know, because the Lord is the one who's setting up the ranking files, and Yahushua is setting that up.
Go back to Hebrews.
Yeah.
Hebrews 3 and 8. I'll go back to 7. Wherefore, as the Holy Spirit saith, today, if ye will hear his voice, harden not your hearts as in the provocation in the day of temptation in the wilderness, when your fathers tempted me, proved me, and saw my works 40 years. Wherefore I was grieved with that generation, and said, they do always err in their heart,
Right.
and they have not known my ways.
Right, in their mind. Why? Because every time they heard the word, they were offended, even though it's the truth. And they let their offense lead them to sin, instead of it to, the scriptures talk about shame that leads to sin, and the shame that leads to glory. Right, that glory is basically coming back to Yahushua. Right, you accept what you did wrong, and you align yourself with what's right according to the scriptures.
Did it use the word provocation?
Yep, it did.
Okay, because that word, provocation, it goes back to speaking angrily or being annoying when you speak. Because that's how the prophets, they came off too. You know, they didn't.
Yeah, it's true.
They didn't come back here to speak smooth words to you. So sometimes prophets sound rough. They sound very redundant. It could sound like a broken record, right?
Annoying, yeah.
Very annoying.
What's interesting about that, though, brother, is that there's a root word in there, and it's provoked.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mean
That's why he said, "I'll provoke them to emulation." Right? Provoke them to jealousy. Because that's what the prophet's job is to do, is to get you to go back to the Lord, to make you jealous of the Lord not wanting you.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
Because jealousy goes into the word passion. You gotta be passionate. That's what you should be. You should be provoked. Be passionate to get back to the Lord. Go ahead, Rob.
This is Proverbs chapter 15, verse 32, and it says, he that refuseth instruction despiseth his own soul, but he that heareth reproof getteth understanding.
Yeah, strange.
Because we're saying, like, those men of the ancient days, they were really broken records. Like the apostle always says, that you should say stuff over and over, but that's how you really get it, right? You
Yeah.
just get it by hearing. You might say, oh yeah, I get it, I understand it. But you really get it when you start to act it out, right?
Yeah. Repetition is the father of skill.
You start to, the spirit starts to, like, show the action, right?
Yeah,
Through
that's
your
why I
flesh,
read
through your
Isaiah
flesh.
11.
'Cause that's what really
You don't
happens.
get it by just hearing.
Yep.
Yeah.
You get it by doing it. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, that's,
Over and over and over
Yeah.
again. You don't just do it once, you do it again.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
even hold on, because even Peter said that. And Peter, he was hard-headed too. Peter was hard-headed, man. Yahushua had to rebuke him a couple times.
Yeah, Yahushua's boy.
How's man?
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying,
I hear
like,
you.
facetiously, yeah, right?
Yeah, and Peter came up to him and was like, well, if my brother sinned against me, how many times am I supposed to forgive him? 7 times?
Right.
And that's spiritual that he used 7, because we know 7 means completion. Right? And Yahushua said, listen, you're supposed to forgive him 70 times, 70 times. Shit. And you know, like, he doesn't tell you anything. Peter's face was like, oh, all right. All right. Whatever you say goes. You know? But I brought that up because it's what you just said about applying it. So yeah, you have to do it. Live it out. Live it out. So you gotta do it over. So that the point is you gotta do it over and over and over again. You gotta show mercy over and over and over again.
Yeah, the just shall live by faith. Yep.
That is one more.
Yeah.
Proverbs 10 and 17, it says, he is in the way of life that keepeth instruction, but he that refuseth reproof heareth. Right?
So listen there.
Yeah, that's it.
Back in Hebrews?
It was 740, 540, 735. So we did to the 15. 15? Yeah, go ahead.
Hebrews 3 and 11. So I swear in my wrath, they shall not enter into my rest. Take heed, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living power.
Yeah, so all the way back to from the wilderness, the Lord swore that they wouldn't receive this truth. Because that's the rest. It starts with this knowledge, and then getting beamed up, being in the chariots, and then ultimately the kingdom. Okay? Being of the elect.
But exhort one another daily, while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. Can we read that again? Yeah. But exhort one another daily, while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin.
Yeah. Exhort. Do the lessons, teach. Do the lessons, teach, study, teach, over and over again. Until we get out of here.
For we are made partakers of Yahweh Shai, if we hold the beginning of our confidence, there's that word again, confidence, brother, steadfast unto the end. While it is said, today, if ye will hear his voice, harden not your hearts, as in the provocation. There's that word again.
Brother, you know what the word confidence is? Yeah. Faith.
Yeah.
God meaning with, and dance, faith.
Yeah, hold on to that confidence. That's very important. Just saying Yahweh Shai, really. Hold on to the confidence. That's him. Right? Yeah. Go ahead, Brother Chewie.
For some, when they had heard, did provoke.
Yeah.
Howbeit not all that came out of Egypt by Moses, but with whom was grieved 40 years. Was it not with them that had sinned, whose carcasses fell in the wilderness? And to whom sware he that they should not enter into his rest, but to them that believeth not. So we see that they could not enter in because of what? Unbelief. That's like incredulity.
Yeah, Khan. And also that rest goes into the land. Because that's real riches, eh? Like we're subject to all these laws because Esau runs, he owns the land. Once we're going back to our land, we can run things how we want to run things according to righteousness and subdue the whole earth, because really the whole earth is given to Israel.
That's right.
Well, it's going to be a surgical strike, right?
Right.
That's going to happen.
Right.
Because those who, as Apostle Tar said, more than likely brothers might be redeemed and then placed down in South America. May go in that area, and then go through and just conquer. Shit, man. Well, it's going to be a whole global thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
But it's going to, man.
Yeah.
It'll be, oh man. Right. You can't make a movie out of that.
Con.
It's going to be in living color.
Yeah, I got one to Second Ezra 6 and 54, I'll start there. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, and of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. All this I have spoken before thee, O Yahweh, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
Which was the most I need favorite. He favored the Israel. And you know what? It's beautiful though too, because the most is balanced. Because in the kingdom they're going to get their plot of land and whatnot, but they're going to be under subjection of under the elect, under Israel. So we're going to be the new global and universal landlords.
And now, O Yahweh, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us, and to devour us. But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, they only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure?
Yeah. Ezra did a beautiful thing, man. He questioned the Lord with his own word. And that's the way you should question the Lord. You ever question the Lord, you do it through the scriptures. You don't do it through your own vain imagination or knowledge or opinion. You do it through what He wrote, through His word.
That's it on that.
Go on? Yeah, go ahead.
Isaiah 40, verse 15, went to 17. Behold, the nations are a drop of a bucket, and are counted as the small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing. And Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor the beasts thereof sufficient for a burnt offering. All nations before him are as nothing,
That's right.
and they are accounted to him less than nothing and vanity.
What is that? Eh? What is less than nothing?
Who cares about a drop of water from a bucket, right? Very, very insignificant.
Yeah. That just shows you the vastness of the Most High Yahweh. Okay, He says all nations are as nothing, as what?
As a drop in a bucket.
No, it says that something and nothing.
All nations before him are as nothing,
Right.
and they are accounted to him less than nothing and vanity.
Less than nothing.
Less than anything is vanity.
It's the vastness of Yahweh.
Fun. What is that? Less than nothing.
I don't know.
Man.
Well,
All
they're
I know
an
is-
example of it, man. They're a deadite. Look at them. Like, we could preach to the other nations all day, and it still won't retain them.
Oh, beautiful statement. Let's get Revelation 11 and 1.
Yeah.
Exactly what you're saying. 'Cause that's beautiful. You're right.
Anybody want? I got it.
Yeah, go ahead, read it.
Revelation.
A perfect example is only one of them that actually got it was the Moabite.
Yeah, he had the dream, right, of Israel ruling.
No, when he was on the donkey.
Oh, that was Balaam. No,
Yeah, Balaam. Yeah, he had the dream of
Yeah,
Israel ruling.
Balaam.
Balaam and Balaam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Balaam.
he went to present that before the king.
Yeah, Balaam. Yeah, he got it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. He got it, but he also got the fact that he wasn't chosen.
So that's what the Lord put inside of him. That's a very powerful point, brother.
Yeah.
Because hey, that's why these nations like to come up and boast. But hey, we just told you the answer. It was the Lord that put it in him for a purpose,
Yeah.
right? To show him what? That he's not chosen. Simply put. But that's
Right
the
now,
Lord.
he's probably in a position of power.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, absolutely. Right.
He's
Yeah.
ministered to the king of his nation, right?
100%. Yeah. Go ahead, read it.
Revelation 11 and 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod.
All right,
And
what's
the
that read?
scriptures.
I'm just
Go ahead.
And there was given me a reed like unto a rod.
Hey,
And
what
the
is the rod? It has levels to it. It's Yahushai and the rulership, okay? Right? And it also goes into the staff, the power, right? But there's levels to it when you go into the word. But know that it's talking about what? Not just Psalms 2 and 2, that rod, but it's talking about a power, the
Right.
eternal power,
He's actually
right?
gonna
Our eternal power, our Savior,
Yeah,
right?
he's
Our
actually
Shiner
gonna
one,
come.
yeah, to come.
Yeah, rulership.
Yeah, go ahead, brother, read.
And the angel stood, saying, Rise, and the measure the temple of Yahweh, and the altar, and them that worship therein.
So what does that mean? I'm asking you brothers. What does
So-
it mean by him measuring the temple and then that worship therein?
It's talking about the 144,000 and the 11.
Yeah, okay. Like kind of. Read it again.
And measure the temple of Yahweh,
Slow,
Right.
slow. Measure the temple.
and
Oh,
measure the temple of Yahweh.
So what's that? What's that talking about?
So I know the temple of Yahweh is the Israelites, the elect amongst Israel.
Okay.
But
So what
the
does it
measuring part, I don't know. I don't get the measure.
mean? Any of you brothers know? I know you probably know. Any of you brothers know? No? Okay. So keep reading. I'll explain it, but keep reading.
pull out your notes for it. It's good to follow. It's easier down the road.
Yeah.
You can just grab it.
And
This is like more of a hard one to like grasp onto. There's other stuff is like baby things, but this one is more
meat.
meat.
Yeah. And if you don't got notes, make notes now. Go ahead.
and measure the temple of Yahweh and the altar, and them that worship therein.
So them that worship therein is the elect. Okay? Those are the ones that are worshiping. The temple is talking about all of Israel. The measuring is the teaching. How do you measure them? By teaching them. Okay? Make sense? Yeah. Keep going.
And who's the standard is that rod,
Right.
where the teaching comes from.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. But the court which is without the temple leave out,
Okay.
and measure it not.
So we know measure means teach. What's the court without the temple?
That's the other nations.
Right. Including with who?
Esau.
Yeah.
Including the one third that's going to be destroyed.
2/3.
2/3, sorry.
So what's the measuring stick? Brothers know what the measuring stick is then?
Yeah, so we should get it. We just covered that. You should get it.
Bible.
Yeah.
Bible's measuring.
Scriptures. That's right.
Yeah.
That's how you measure Israel, right? That's how you measure whether, because
Everything.
Romans 8, that's how you measure everything. You're right. Romans 8 and 16, right? It's the Spirit, our Spirit bear witness with your spirit that we're the children of the Lord, right? So that's the Scriptures. Go ahead. The Holy Spirit, which is what gives us the understanding of the Scriptures.
I'm gonna do lot 2 again. But the worship and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 40 and 2 months.
Okay, now that's means now. So measure them not. So teach them not. Don't teach the Gentiles. And any of you guys, I don't expect any of you guys to know, but any of you guys know the 42 months goes into?
I think the 40 and 2 months is talking about for a time when the pretty much in Jerusalem right now, where those Edomites are over there running things, they're doing their things. So they're the Gentiles trotting down over there until the time of the Gentiles come, which is about to come.
It's more so now, because remember, John's getting, this is in Revelation, so he's getting a prophecy. Yes, you can add 67 AD, treading of the temple.
No, I'm not talking about 67.
Oh, what
no,
are you talking
I'm talking about like right now, because the Gentiles are over there right now in the land doing their thing. They're trotting down, so their time is going to be destroyed. It's going to be done, which is now, it's expired.
Well, they're trotting us down too, because remember, the bankers, they run the world. And the temple is all over, scattered across the world as far as the people. Now that time period is actually a prophetic time period, right? Of 350 years.
42 months?
40 and 2 months.
Yeah, 42 months. It's really 3 years, which
3 and a half.
Yeah, 3.5 heads. Yeah. 3.5 years, which is a prophetic of 350 years. 350 years from 1416, no, 1916. 1619. 1619 to 1969.
Okay.
1619 to 1969.
Okay.
That's what that 40 and 2 months. They should tread us until then, because what would happen then?
We were lost. We didn't know nothing. We woke up by Abba Bivens in 1969.
Yeah, you hear what he said?
No, say it again.
In 1619, that's when the last slave was officially brought over here.
Okay. And what happened in 1969?
Abba Bivens started waking up everyone.
Exactly. The prophecy, right?
Which is,
yeah, Elijah.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what that 42 months goes into.
Okay.
It's prophetic for that. So read that again.
But the court which was without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 40 and 2 months. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth.
Sorry, 1 second. Can you read it back again? I'm going to stop him.
Verse 2?
Yeah.
But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 40 and 2 months.
So the holy city would be Israel. So they're treading down Israel for 350 years time. 1619, when the last slave was brought over.
1916.
1619.
Yeah,
You're right.
so the last slave came over, and then from when Abba Bivens wake up, that's a 350 year years that they were trodden down the Israelites, so they took everything from us. We had no identity.
They
had no
spoiled us
knowledge
as a
of that.
nation.
Okay.
Okay, right together. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to rehearse it again at some point when the Lord wants us to do it.
Go ahead. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days clothed in sackcloth.
Now,
Yeah.
what are the 2 witnesses?
I was going to answer. Somebody asked me the other day, and I couldn't answer it. I was going to
Okay,
answer.
so it's the spirit that's coming out now.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
What do the 2 witnesses represent? I know you probably know. I know some of you brothers.
Sorry. Read it again. I think
Of course.
Okay.
And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth.
What do the 2 witnesses represent?
Ephraim and Judah.
And prophets.
Correct?
And prophets. The 2 prophets.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
right.
So, so here's the chart, right? Southern Kingdom, Northern Kingdom. Okay, Southern, Northern. See that?
Yes.
And then
Judah would be the head tribe, and Ephraim would be the head tribe.
That's the northern
Judah,
kingdom.
Ephraim from the southern, and Ephraim for the northern, right?
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, just for edification of.
prophets, the 2 prophets as well. When you go a little, just a tad bit deeper.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna leave that out. But yeah.
Elijah and Zerubbabel,
Okay.
major prophets.
Elijah and Zerubbabel?
Yeah,
Which is John and David.
Well, I believe so.
Yeah, Zerubbabel is King David.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Just believe is King David.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah,
through faith.
Yeah, through faith. And just something to keep in mind, the 1,260 days.
Don't tell them. You gotta ask them. Want them to if they
What
know.
is the 1,260 days?
You guys know, because I want to know if you guys are studying these things. The breakdowns are out there. And I'm doing lessons on these things. Okay, go ahead. Read it.
Read that part one more time.
And they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth.
Okay, what's that talking about? Any of you brothers know? No? Some of you know? Right. So the 42 months has a 3-level breakdown to it, really. 1,000 that he's reading right now, 1,200 said?
1,260 days, which is 1,260.
So 1,260 days. It's prophetic for 3.5 years. 3.5 years, prophetic for 350 years. So it's talking about the same thing. What?
These are the 2. Salakia. Who's this lady over
Yeah,
here?
man, we're on camera anyway.
Who's the Moab?
Go ahead, keep reading.
Just ignore it.
She's out of here. Okay. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before Yahweh of the earth, the power of the earth. And if
So
any
2 olive trees and candlesticks is still talking about the 2 nations, the southern and northern kingdom of Israel. And then, like the brother went into, the actual 2 prophets, Zerubbabel and Elijah.
And if any man will hurt them, fire proceeded out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed.
Yeah. By fire. So it starts with this word, but then, the scriptures, but then the chariots are actually going to come and save the members of the elect. And they're going to burn and kill people with fire. 2nd Ezra 13th chapter. What?
These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy.
And that actually happened. Elijah did that. Right? When you cross-reference that very precept, it'll take you right to it. 2 Kings 22, I think, where Elijah actually called the Most High to let it not rain for 3 days. Okay?
3 years.
Oh, 3 years, yeah. 3 years, a lot of you. Yeah, 3 years.
And on another level, aren't we what we're doing right now, shutting down Esau's kingdom? Right now, shutting down Esau's kingdom? Because this is his heaven.
Yeah, starting with this word.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
These
Well,
have
how about Shimon Shai's doing it? And we're just a vessel of that. Yeah.
These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues.
Now, you guys know who that's talking about? You guys remember when that happened in the scriptures? Read it again.
and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues.
Come on, you should know
Come
that.
on, man. That's come on. That's easy. Yeah, that's playing up on tables, man.
That was the plagues. The plagues that Moses and Aaron.
Moses. It's talking about Moses. The blood, yeah, the blood of the water. When you turn the water into blood, the Nile River, I think, turn it into blood.
To smite the earth with all plagues should have been the right.
That's the 12 plagues.
Yeah.
Plagues of Egypt.
Yeah. As often as they will, and when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them.
It's jumping everywhere. Yeah, you can see it's
Yeah.
So that's we know that's talking about the Renaissance, right? Coming out of the bottomless pit, they shall kill them, right? And all that time period, slavery is still very prevalent, killing us off, right? And then some of us, when you fast forward to now, some of the elect are going to die for this truth, are going to be put to sleep for this truth.
And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified.
Last precept, that was it. Now, what does that mean? Their dead bodies shall lie in the great city.
It's when
No, go ahead. You're answering.
it's when pretty much America, when we were lost of our identity, we had no truth of who we are. The scriptures weren't in us. We were just lost.
Spiritually dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
So pretty much Ezekiel, the valley of dry bones.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Spiritually dead. That's right. And what is why does it say spiritually Sodom?
Because they're reliving the old days, like in Sodom and Gomorrah. So right now, all these battles.
What happened? Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. And then how about Egypt? Why Egypt?
The baddie guy
Because Egypt is where slavery started.
Okay.
Egypt is where slavery started in America.
Okay.
Egypt is where slavery started in America. America has repeated that system over again. So that's why it's called spirit slavery.
Right. We came in slavery here, we were slavery there. Yeah, you're right.
So saying symbolism and like philosophy too.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's similar to, well, yeah. Even if you go into the flag itself, the red, white, and blue. In Egypt, that was the what do you call them, the pharaohs? What do you call them, the pharaohs? The red one would wear a red cap, and that means he ran one section of Egypt, maybe North Egypt. Another pharaoh would wear a white cap, and it means he ran the southern part of Egypt. The pharaoh that wore the blue cap meant that he ran all of Egypt. You know, so the head ruler, head pharaoh.
They have prime minister and president, they call it today.
Right.
Right? Prime minister and president, like in the islands.
And then also beer. They had bowling, like bowling. Bowling goes back to Egypt. Beer goes back to Egypt. Condoms go back to Egypt.
So they exist in the building structure and all that.
Yeah, the infrastructure, everything. Yeah, you're right.
Shaving lineups, yeah.
Gator bait.
Yeah, gator bait, yeah, you're right. Yeah, gator bait.
Sorry,
And
presidents, here in Babylon, presidents and senators.
Senators.
Right, they switch it up.
That's in Daniel too.
Yeah,
It speaks about presidents.
presidents and senators.
It has
here in
presidents
Babylon.
verbatim. That's what I'm saying,
Right, but it's just a spin-off from because he mentioned the first place for bondage. The word Egypt means bondage,
Right.
which goes back to the Hebrew word markazarium.
That's right.
Right, so that's just when you go into Abraham's prophecy, the giving of the law, right? That we would go to bondage for, right? Yeah, 400 years, yeah. So get refreshed with that. But that, I'm just saying that for the camera, just to what the brother said in regards to bondage. Bondage started at that time. That was just a prophecy for being fulfilled. Okay.
Just like right now,
Yeah. All right.
the ark is being built again.
Okay.
Noah was building the ark, warning the people. So
Before the door
right now
shuts,
are
right?
doing the same thing. So it's the same type of thing.
Yeah.
And there's one more section too. where also our Lord was crucified. And how did that happen?
Because we keep doing the same thing over and over again. We keep disobeying the laws, statutes, and commandments, and every time we do that, we crucify him over.
That's true,
and
but
over
how did
again.
how did they crucify Yahushua here?
Because they took him out of the school. They took him out of their system.
Start with his image.
That's nice. That's nice, though.
Yeah.
Start with the image, but everything you're saying is right.
Yeah, that what you said is right. That's nice.
Start with the image.
Yeah, how out of the school?
The X-Del Yahushua. The X-Del Yahushua.
Out of the school.
The X-Del Yahushua. The X-Del Yahushua.
Man, yeah, that's where he belongs, man.
The X-Del Yahushua by giving him that lack of color.
The history goes back into the Bourgier family. When you go back to Rodrigo Bourgier, he came out and he made his son Caesar Bourgier the face of Yahushua. So that's that history.
Which goes back to the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit.
And which law? Hey, which law is that? Which law is that? Which law is that? You know the law. Just say it. The first law.
It's
Come on.
the first one.
The first one.
Exodus 20 and 5.
There it is. Say it. You know it,
Not
brother.
having more powers over me.
Yeah.
That's it.
You know it. You know it.
You know it.
So with that, we're going to close up the ministry. Lord willing, to edifying the hopeful elect. We're going to give all praise and honor and glory to
Yahweh,
Yahweh.
Ba'Shem, Yahushai, Ba'Shem, Rakakadash.
Double honors to the apostles and the elders of great millstone who do well, and has taught us his word in truth and sincerity. And peace and mercy to the hopeful elect that are also pushing his word across the four corners of the earth in truth and sincerity. As well as your little amount of sisters that believe, peace and mercy to you and your house. We're going to say a ball. And Lord willing, to next week say shalom to the hopeful elect.
Shalom. Shalom.